Welcome into this week of Missouri Politics Midweek Update. I'm Scott Faughn, post-session edition. It was so much to talk about, I thought I would just stick it right here with just me. I want to thank you all for watching the last couple of weeks. Thank our sponsors at Courtyard, United Fiber. I'm very humbled by your watching. I really felt like, from Brad Pollard, who's at the center of the education thing, it ended up being a thing they didn't pull together. But trust me, there was a very real scenario where the Senate passes an education bill that's just either Brad's bill or just dead aimed eye on rural Missouri on closing schools. And Brad had to make a tough decision. So it was nice to hear from him. Jamie Berger announcing his floor leader run here. Mike Moon told you what was going to happen Wednesday, and it happened. Lincoln Huff told you what was going to happen the next day, and that happened. And then probably the day that everybody knew, maybe were the most accurate predictions. Senator Hoskins Sandrago came in here, told you how to calculate the cabbage, and that's exactly what they did. So interesting week. So just me here. Sorry to disappoint everyone, but I am here. I got this wonderful thing from Carrie in Columbia. This is a Mizzou Stein. It's a shot glass. There are many jokes that we could make about Dusty Schneiders with the shot glass of a Stein of knowledge about Mizzou, but I'm not going to make those because I love Dusty. But I mean, we could talk about how normal Stein of knowledge is about, what is it, Kelton? Would you say 25, 30 ounces?
At least.
But the Mizzou Stein of knowledge is maybe 3. There are Kelton's a new graduate of Mizzou, by the way. Congratulations to Kelton.
Thank you very much.
I guess the strategy was they give you a diploma on the promise you never return.
Never ever.
But no, let's move right into it. As we move forward into session, look, I mean, the guys told you what was going to happen. They were going to get rural jobs, and they were going to get this property tax code. They were going to get nothing. Now, I'll just give you my own simple hillbilly view of what happened. They tried to divide the two of them, probably more the House, thinking that would work. That wasn't going to happen. I never thought it was going to happen. I told you that was clearly not going to happen, right? However, I think there was a little bit tough on the rural jobs thing. A lot of folks that had votes to pass, no question. I think that there were folks that wanted to get even with Denny for old stuff, sports book, what just generally Denny throwing a monkey wrench in things, and they were going to stop that. And the House had a chance; they could have passed rural jobs. They had the votes for rural jobs. They had passed. They wanted to pass it, couldn't pass it. They just couldn't settle themselves on letting Denny have a win. That's the way it goes. Is it a little childish? Sure. Could the same allegations be made of Senator Hoskins in the past? Sure. That's the way it is. That's just the way legislating goes. It's very personal. And it got ever more so personal this past couple weeks. I tell you what I think. There's a session hangover. I see a lot of folks on Twitter, mostly lobbyists that didn't get the thing they wanted to get done, saying the session was a failure. Well, I would say this is a very normal legislative session. I would say, the things you could take away from this are this. If you're a social person, right, you like social issues, they pretty much eliminated transgender care for minors. I always think when they call it care, it's like gender affirming care. That just seems to me like you're supporting giving puberty blockers to people that obviously are prepubescent. Gender affirming care is not what I think a lot of the state would call it, but I think that whatever you want to call it, you can't give kids puberty blockers anymore pretty well in the state of Missouri. And a boy that has been a boy can't transition and play girl sports. Way it goes. So anyway, I think you're going to find that there'll be a pretty clear going forward. That was a big deal for social conservatives. Number 2, rebuilding I-70. If you're like a common sense Republican, if you're like a business owner, nothing bigger they could have done than rebuild I-70. Enormously successful. Transformational project. You say, well, people are so wrapped around their social media crap, they can't do big things. Nothing's bigger than rebuilding I-70, and the Republicans supermajority did it, and deserves a ton of credit for that. No matter if you're Democrat, whatever your shape is, whatever your feeling are, that was an enormous accomplishment. And then, frankly, Kim Gardner. If you're a law and order person, if you're a St. Louisan, I mean, this is a big win for St. Louis. You say what you will, but except for Andrew Bailey teamed up with the Republican General Assembly, Kim Gardner does not resign. Now, you could think that is good or bad. I'll leave that to you to think. But I believe most folks in the state. I believe most folks in St. Louis. I believe most policymakers in St. Louis Black, white, I would say Democrat or Republican, but there are no Republicans in the city. I think privately they'll tell you this is a good thing. Now, I don't think anybody's fully comfortable with the measures that had to be taken here. I don't. Well, I think Republicans in the legislature definitely they don't believe in local control. They believe in all control constantly. They want to run every aspect of your life. That whole thing about the you make better decisions for you, that is gone. That is not a Republican view. It's not a Democrat view anymore either. It's a I don't know, hillbilly view, I guess. Um, but there are folks. The quo warranto thing. I don't think Andrew Bailey thought, oh, this is a great precedent. This is a great thing. I think they thought this is an emergency. We got to do something, and this is the best tool they had legally available. Taking over the St. Louis Police Department. I read a thing that somebody put out, the real story of how this happened. I'll tell you how I think that didn't happen in a second. But first, um, in all honesty, I do believe there was a serious and concerted push amongst folks to remove Kim. The Republic, you say what you will, whether it's good or bad. The Republicans in the legislature with Andrew Bailey did that. So if you think that's going to be, and here's the great thing about the scoreboard. The scoreboard attempt is going to be good or not. I've got tons of questions here. I don't know who the governor's going to appoint. Have no idea. I'll tell you some names I've heard. I've heard Judge Noble. Some of the cop unions are behind him. Some of the cop supporters. I've heard Marvin Tier, a guy that used to work there. Some of the Democrat elected officials are behind. He may be one that might commit not to run. I've never thought the governor. Look, the governor's been a little bit burned by people in attorneys' offices maybe needing to run for another office right away and not being able to really do maybe doing some things to garner public support that might not have been the most professional, common sense things. It would seem to me that would strike him as not the move. Plus, I mean, let's be honest, the voters in the city of St. Louis have not changed. If you appoint someone for Patrick Honker's name, Stephen Roberts is the most well-known name out there. Jack Coder is a very well-known name who do very well. Um, the truth is, I think if you appoint somebody from that list, say a Steve Roberts, a Jack Coder, say Patrick Honker, who ran, by the way, and came in second 6 years ago. I do think you'd give them an advantage in fundraising support. Putting this office back together will be hard, but it seems very possible. If you do that, then I think you end up with if you go down that route, it would feel to me like that you end up giving them a leg up. If it's just a free for all, I really don't know how you don't get. Look, Kim Gardner, you say what you will about Kim, but her job performance was approved by those folks. She did what she promised she would do. That's just the truth. And so I don't know how you get around the fact that Kim, another person just like Kim, won't win that election again if it's just a free for all open race. They may anyway, but I think they have a better shot of having someone with a little more core competency. And yeah, I do sometimes you do associate a lack of competency with extremists on every side, including Republicans. So, I think if you were more competent, you probably wouldn't be so extreme. So I think there's a real concern that the city's voters haven't changed. They'll just vote in another similar person, and it'll be mayhem again. But anyhow, that's I think those are the things that are kicking around. You could see somebody totally out of left field. I have no idea. The governor's had a couple things on his plate. One of them being Lieutenant Governor Mike Keogh kicked off his campaign last night. It wasn't announced it was a campaign kickoff. Whatever it was, there was like 1,000 people there across the river at Turkey Creek. I mean, the visuals were great. That video, oh my God, watch that video. We should put a link to that video in the down below. He had a campaign kickoff that was very, very well attended. The firefighters were out in force, soybean, cattlemen. I mean, it was a well attended state reps. Were, I don't know, probably 30. I saw a picture. I think I might have took a picture of about 30 state reps there to support him. It was a big, big deal. If you know him, it's hard not to just think. If you know Mike Kehoe, it's very hard to think he's not the leader, right? He just comes off like a leader. Speech was interesting. Like any speech, I was born going to Pentecostal church, so I have PTSD about long speeches. So, but I will say the video has an underlying theme. Mike Kehoe truly has an amazing story. Like youngest of 9, single mother, father left when he was very young. Grew up in St. Louis. Worked his way up to owning a dealership. Worked his way up to owning like an ambulance manufacturing place, literally a manufacturer. Highway commission, senator, lieutenant governor, now running for governor. It's a great story, and really the truth is, I mean, if you're, I mean, let me just break down the way I see the governor's race for what it's worth. Um, Speaking of, I want to thank Chris from here in town. Give you this Nicole Galloway button. Could you zoom in? I guess we can't zoom in yet. It's technology we're working on here, but it is the rainbow Nicole Galloway for governor button. I happen to like Nicole Galloway, and I think she's very smart and a very conscientious public servant. She ran. She was appointed auditor, won re-election, then ran against Governor Parson when his re-election and came up short. But it's a cool button. It'll be. Thank you again, Chris. Anytime, and if you all that sent me something, I do my best to keep them around, even the Victor Callahan sign, even Flat Doug. What up, Flat Doug? I will stick this on the UFCW pin thing here later today. But thank you again. I appreciate this. And all everything you do send, I do keep, and we keep somewhere. We may run out of space at some point, but we'll get a bigger, always get a bigger studio, Gelton. That'd be the thing, yeah. So if you're Mike Kehoe, here's the thing: you should have the most money. I think Jay Ashcroft was on pace for parity, but he's gonna have to. I think he's going to raise some money on his own this quarter. It's going to be the real test of his campaign. Jay Ashcroft is going to run hard to the right. He's going to call Mike Kehoe a liberal. He's going to say he's a liberal. I mean, when you govern, you have to make choices, and then the people that aren't in Secretary of State is governing, but it's not anything like the legislature or Senate leadership, especially. You have to make choices, and you can be attacked for those choices. He's going to say Mike Kehoe's a liberal, and I'm going to be the most right wing person you've ever seen in your life. And the thing about Jay Ashcroft is, I think he believes a lot of that stuff. I mean, let's be honest. Most Republicans are generally believe the themes they talk about, but to get real crazy radical, it's I think Jay Ashcroft might actually be more right wing than most folks and believe it. And I think it matters. People can tell in their gut if you really, especially extremists who are used to getting told things, and then we go, well, we're not really going to do that, and getting ticked off. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that comes out. Mike Kehoe is look. I'm a self-made man. Built myself up to be successful in business. I know how to make the economy of the state run because I've ran it. I know how to get things done because I've got them done. And my dad left when I was 3. I had to make my own way, and his dad is the only reason he's in the race, and that's his argument. And it comes through in that video. He doesn't quite come out and say it, but essentially, it's like, the theme of it was basically, your dad didn't get you your job, my dad sure didn't give me my job, and Jay Ashcroft's dad shouldn't be able to give him the job of governor of the state of Missouri. And that was the underlying theme of the video. I think that's his best argument. I personally, I mean, you look me in the eye right now and tell me the Trump folks care about spending or your record or abortion. I mean, it's just not real. It's a personality. It's a branding contest now. And I think it's everything. Mike Kehoe's story is perfect to tell for that branding that the people want. Donald Trump will win Missouri. Shoot, Keldon won't even be close. There won't be a Democratic National Committee staffer within, hell. They might go to Iowa for a day or two, but I mean, the fact is Trump plays here, still does. And it's that straight talking, gruff, branded businessman, tell you like it is. That is who Kehoe is. I don't know that that's who Kehoe can. I think sometimes he's such a logical guy, and he actually knows how things work. It's a little harder for him to just spitball crazy out. But I think he's just going to have to get work. So, nobody believes Donald Trump is actually pro-life. Like, if you believe that, I have some wonderful oceanfront property in West Butler County you'll be interested in. But he plays it off, right? And the people that want to believe that convince themselves it's true. I think that's his message. I think he's going to have to be Trump-esque, and he has the story. Just like here's the thing about Trump. Trump had the story. I don't know how much money Trump has, but he's rich, right? I mean, he has literal assets that are worth millions and millions of dollars. I mean, he is a rich guy compared to by any standard in this country. Mike Kehoe's a rich guy too, and where Trump, you could say, well, his dad helped him. Well, that ain't true for Kehoe. He can say, hey, I did this, I built this, I'm the American dream. Look at me. And when he does, it sounds compelling because it's true. Jay Ashcroft can say, I am more conservative than him, and I think he can make that case hard. If it is a race on who's the most conservative, Jay Ashcroft's got an advantage. If it's a race on who's got the bigger brand and the more direct, if Mike Kehoe can get his head in a place where he can sell his story in the same way that voters want to hear it, like Trump did, then he's got a very compelling race because he's willing to hit him. I'll tell you what. I'll get to Bill Eigel in a second, but I see the folks here. I appreciate it. I thought the American Dream PAC's first ad hitting Jay Ashcroft on foreign-owned land was total lies and just idiocy. However, it was the perfect ad because most Republicans look foreign-owned ag land is an issue that you could cost a real person their job with screwing with that. It's popular though, and it's such a stupid issue. You could attack anybody for it because it's so bereft of logic. Is Jay Ashcroft for foreign-owned ag land? No. Is Mike Kehoe? No. There was a vote to keep Smithfield. And they go up to North Missouri and ask those folks if they like to keep their jobs. I think they'll like to keep their jobs. I think that's worked out pretty well for the state as opposed to them closing, which is what was going to happen. So all that said, I thought the ad was totally unfair, but exactly what Mike Kehoe needed to do. He needed to show folks he's willing to hit. He's willing to go push to take the seat. I thought it was a great ad. I thought it was the perfect thing he needed to do. There's no question in my mind that's what he's got to do to win, and he's showing he's prepared to do that, which good for him, good for his supporters. Bill Eigel, okay. I mean, Bill Eigel is sometimes a riddle wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in a I don't know, a fortune cookie. Bill's a different thinking guy than your normal politician or than you. I think he probably is running for governor. I think there's a couple things he's done. Great job building up an online fundraising base. He could tap that again. The upfront investment in that's great. Over time, though, the residual benefits is also great. I think Bill Eigel can hit you. He can hit you and hit you and hit you. He can attack you. He's very good at attacking people. And he showed Jay Ashcroft a little lesson in that. He was very good at attacking Jay. He did a phenomenal job of landing punches. The Eric voting system, I don't even know what that is, but now Jay Ashcroft got out of it. I think they hit him on voting machines. And again, are these like fair, logical attacks? No. But we live in a post-facts world, and nobody cares if it's true or not. And if I had to guess, Bill Eigel is very good at attacking on the Senate floor in a session. It was terrific speech. His gestures were perfect. His pacing, the last word of the sentence was always the strongest. The dramatic pauses, he's good. Well, you saw him. I listened to his interview with Brandon Rabb that it was pitch perfect. In here, he's on board. I asked him, what if everybody acted like you instead of just you four? What if everybody said the Senate can't move until I get my stuff? Well, how does that work? And he's like, basically just didn't answer it, which is what a pro does. I tell you, he's very, very good. Anybody thinks he can't be governor is very, very wrong. He's the best on the stump right now. He's got the best attacks. He's just fervent, and he does things. Bill is willing to go to a place that most Republican voters are at right now. He's willing to go in, say the budget's too big, then go in and say the budget doesn't pass unless I get millions of dollars from my district, then go out on the floor and say the budget's too big and vote against the bill. And you can, whatever you want to think about those things, great for his district, good politics, disingenuous, hypocritical. That's where Republican voters are. And Bill Eigel is already, his head's already there. What's that about Mike Kehoe? I don't know if his head's there. It looks like it kind of is. Bill Eigel's head's there. And a very legitimate candidate. And Bill Eigel's strategy is basically screw everybody. You all suck. Everything sucks. I'm the only one who's worth a damn. And the strategy is a solid one. Whoever Jim, whoever came up with the strategy, that's not a bad strategy for today's Republican crew. I don't know that. He's coming. It's a very to go from state senate to the governors doesn't happen often for a reason. But if he can put the money together, the guy can throw an attack. The guy can position himself. The more people that gets in, the better for Bill Eigel. We'll see. I think also, it's not. Bill can get a little emotional, but that's Senate floor Bill. There's two Bill Eigels. There's Senate floor Bill Eigel, the one you may have heard, and I think that's like not a good version of him. I think Bill Eigel will be a much better in the executive branch than the legislative branch. If Bill Eigel took a personality test and it said be in the legislative branch working with people, that's a shitty personality test. That's some Scientology shit. Bill Eigel's an executive. He ran his own company. He acts like an executive. He talks like one. Everything about Bill Eigel's an executive. Nothing about Bill Eigel is I'm going to work with 34 other people all the time. in that chamber. However, outside of that chamber, Bill Eccles was affable, he's so funny, tells jokes about himself more than anyone else. He just is very comfortable in his skin. That doesn't always equate to the Senate floor. So if that's what you're thinking is based off of, I think go watch Campaign Trail Bill Eigel. That's the Bill Eigel I see when I have dinner with him. That's the guy I don't see on the Senate floor, never have. But he's good, and I'm gonna tell you, he's a real factor in that race. And the way you can tell this, right? Like Senate floor, Bill Eigel, hey, in real life, Bill Eigel don't like Mike Keogh. He just doesn't like him. Bill Eigel was always the Keogh was always the guy in the cool kids table of the Senate, and he was never there, and kind of took him for a ride early. He just doesn't like Mike Keogh, and I doubt Mike Keogh has a lot of time for Bill Eigel, to be honest with you personally. Um, Whereas I think both of them kind of would like Jay Ashcroft in real life. Jay's a really nice person. Well, all three nice guys. Just the way the cards are dealt, they're not dealt for them to like each other. Um, I think the way you could tell Bill Eigel's taking this legit serious, emotionally, I bet he wants to go out there and say Mike Keogh's a liberal and hit him. But that is not the right strategy. Jay Ashcroft's a front runner in this race. Is it based off name ID? Yes, for a lot of that is. Part of it is he's a two-time elected Secretary of State who most folks think has done a good job. But a lot of that's name ID from his father. I mean, that just way it is. So you can whine about it or deal with it. It's not going to change anything. So the truth of the matter is, he emotionally, I bet Bill Ige would love to go hit Mike Keogh, and I think he plans to. But he knows strategically, if you want to win this race, you got to take out Jay Ashcroft first, and that's what he's doing. And to me, that's a proof that he's actually running for governor. That's a proof this is a serious campaign. Then that's a proof he's a mature politician, and that's the tell right there that you should watch out for Bill Ige in this race. It would be very easy for him to pivot emotionally and just hit Keogh, because I think that'd feel good. Be like, you have that you get a tick this time of year, and 3 or 4 days later, scratching that tick bite feels so good, but it's bad for you. You aren't do it. You get chiggers. Your mom say, "Don't scratch them, don't scratch them." When you get chiggers, man, nothing feels better than when you finally get alone and you can scratch that chigger bite. Oh, it feels so good. But what's it do? It just spreads if it's worse for you. Bill Eigel has not scratched that chigger bite, and I'm impressed by it. If you honestly, as you know, if you watch this, I am not a Bill Eigel hater like some other folks could be, or a Bill Eigel worshiper like some other folks could be. But I do respect him, and I could have seen him scratching that chigger bite, but he hasn't. And kudos to him as a mature politician. I've seen Ashcroft getting a little more chippy on Twitter. Good for him. Good for him. You're the front runner. They're going to come for you, man. That's the way this works. And will they be fair? Nope. Will Ashcroft's attacks on them be fair? Nope. Will anybody care? Nope. So it's Wild West. Hit it. Session hangover. Let's talk about. Oh, Eigel. Then this is a great Bill Eigel thing. 4-0 land. Is this just a red herring for Facebook? Yes, on all parts. This is the one, like most Facebook legislation doesn't really matter. This could screw some stuff up. It's a very serious thing. Now, could you pass something that doesn't do anything that would be probably fine, put on their Facebooks and say, "Oh, look at us"? Maybe, but I'm telling you, if you're watching this in Chillicothe and you could have a plant come to Chillicothe, but it's down to like Chillicothe and Lincoln, Nebraska. And we have a law in the books that says we don't want foreign people buying land, and these are foreign people that want to buy land. Ask folks in Chillicothe if they want the jobs. I think the Facebook crap goes away when it becomes real. And so, but Eigel, capitalizing on the moment, sent a letter to the governor demanding a special session on outlawing foreign-owned ag land. It's down to ag land now. Well, what are they going to do with the ag land? Let's say we declare war on China, right, Gelton? I mean, what are we going to do if we declare war on China and they own some land in Grundy County?
I'd probably take it back.
If I take the land back, are we going to let China bring bulldozers over here and scoop up the topsoil and the base rock and the groundwater and move to China?
Probably not.
I doubt it. So, well, they can spy on you. Well, from a farm? Well, I think you could just lease the farm and spy on you, right?
Potentially, yeah.
I'm not an expert on this, but I think I watched 24, and I think they lease those houses where they run the spy thing out of, right? I don't think those are purchased. But it's a good face. It's no matter which, it's a great attack. It lands. I think Mike Parsons had a few things on his to-do list yesterday besides respond to a letter from a guy running for governor. We'll see. I've heard, so it's been funny. Let's talk about session. Look, the last day ended like you thought. There was a lot of things that could have been passed, a lot of just regular good government bills that could have been passed. They were working through those when the thing shut down. yeah, you had 4 senators who said the Senate can't do anything unless I get my bill. It started on Thursday with Senator Bratton. Senator Bratton's passionate. He believes in what he's doing. He thought he was desperately fighting for something he cared about, which is fine. But did he have enough support to pass that chamber? No. He probably had enough votes, maybe, but that's never the standard. He did not have enough support in that chamber to bring that thing to a vote, and so he decided nobody was going to do anything until he got his, and he was willing to hold the budget up. I think Senator Hoskins, Senator Eigel, they were going to hold the budget up unless they got millions of dollars for their districts. Now, to Senator Hoskins' credit, he didn't really go out on the floor and say this is a huge mistake, travesty, and vote against the bill. That he had just demanded to get millions of dollars in his district for Warrensburg in the budget. But I mean that's what they did. Senator Moon said, "I want my bill passed. It's some credits to help people." I don't want to say this wrong because he corrected me on what it was, but it was a tax credit bill centered around helping young mothers, I think. Um, or preventing abortion, something to that effect. I'm not an expert on it, but and he shut her down for a couple days. Then they passed his trans legislation, which, to be honest with you, I mean, Senator Moon is not exactly have a whole wall full of shadow box. Like you go in, I say shadow box. If you go in the senator's office or rep's office, they have all those pieces of legislation with the pins. You know, that's uh, he doesn't have a wall of those, but he's going to have a big one in that trans bill. That's a big bill. They did that for him. He kind of wasn't happy, but I think he kind of was willing to go along after a while. Um, and then Denny with rule jobs and bill the tax cut. I think the House and everybody else thought this was going to be a very productive session because I believe in their minds they thought, well, we're going to get this done on we're going to move this legislation forward. It's went great for 5 months, but I think it went great for 5 months because the floor leader could tell Senator Eigel, yes, your tax bill, which probably does not have the support to get to a vote. I don't know if it has support to pass. I would say probably has support to pass, but not get to a vote. We'll do that later. The landfill bill, which the landfill bill just didn't have enough support to get to a vote. Um, and then Denny's problem was not, and Senator Moon was not the Senate, it was the House. The House ticked about sports book. The House kind of feeling that they'd done their part on trans issues. So, you know, I think the people would have gave Denny his because it was just more popular. Senator Eigel's bill. Look, here's the deal. Drainage district, nursing, all throughout the state, counties have these taxes that provide services. Each and every one of them, which was approved by the voters of the county, or the drainage district, or the municipality, or the sewer district, or whatever it is. I think what you've seen is the Republicans have cut all the taxes the courts are probably going to let them cut here in Missouri. So now they've moved on to wanting to cut local government taxes so they can say they cut taxes. It's a little squirrely, frankly. I've always thought if you want to run the drainage district, resign from the legislature and go run the drainage district. Go be on the library board or the school board or the whatever board it is. Over the drop on your phone when we're recording, like a committee like Kelton's on. Just go and do but I get it. It sounds good to say property tax reform. I'd like it myself. Ron Fitzwater did the biggest tax cut in state history when he slapped the meter maids back. But that was local government cutting local government, right? It wasn't trying to earn your bones of somebody else. Last thing, circuit attorney resigns early. Look, I think she's just done. I think she's just tired of fighting everybody. Probably good for the state what she did. Probably good for St. Louis. Evan Rodriguez, smart dude. Evan Rodriguez is a smart guy. He's over there in the middle of it. Andrew Bailey, I think he's camped out with Bill Corrigan over there and Ray Wagner. They're going to be fine until they get a guy in there. And I think it's going to be great to have some folks with some experience around, even if it's just a little bit. I mean, anytime you can call Evan Rodriguez and ask a question, that's a good thing. It's a good day. He's one of those boys in your phone you want to be able to call. Not even about just legal stuff, just about life. Evan's a smart guy. If you work with Evan, you're going to see he's young, but he's like a old soul, maybe is the way to say it. He's a wise guy. When you find out how young he is, you're like, well, I'm jealous because I'm not that smart at 43. And obviously not this smart, but just wise. He runs a cool engine. Evan Rodriguez is the guy. If you're a very liberal, progressive, protesting Democrat, and someone was going to come in there from Jeff City for a few days, you would want Evan Rodriguez. If you're a right-wing conservative who thinks the whole thing sucks, and somebody's coming there for a few days until the governor can go through and pick someone, you want Evan Rodriguez. Names I've heard: Noble, Tier, Steve Roberts, Jack Coder. Let me go through Patrick Homaker. Those are some names I've heard. I have no idea. It could be somebody way off the grid. Whoever it is has a great opportunity to remake the office. I mean, because hell, there's nobody that even works there anymore. So you truly, it's a problem to remake the office. I think you're going to see the entire judicial community in St. Louis come together. You're going to see the AG's office. I think you're going to see Wesley Bell. Wesley Bell got a bad rap there, man. I mean, he's just doing his job and runs a good office. I mean, you talk to people that work there. I think a lot of folks thought when McCullough lost and he got elected, it was going to be kind of what happened in the city when Kim got elected. None of that. Now, a lot of that is they make enough money that they have retirement incentives. They couldn't leave. It just cost them too much money to quit that day when he came in. By the time a year later, when they could have left, they're like, well, he's not that bad. And I think that's the truth. I think Wesley Bell's had a different experience with cops than Kelton has. This is the truth. But he's a competent guy. That part hasn't fallen apart. Wesley Bell's like, hey, I'm trying to help here, man. I just want to, what can I do to help, right? So good for him. I think and somebody was attacking him for helping. I mean, he's trying to help. That's all he's trying to do. I don't think Wesley Bell really wants to take over the city. I don't see how that helps him. He certainly don't want to take it over now when it's in shambles. But regardless, I mean, there's no city-county judicial district merger. That's a legislative act. So for the time being, he was trying to help. I thought it was kind of odd that he was getting maligned in this. Look, I think Kim Gardner trusts him, knows him, and unless you're going to get Bob McCullough, he's going to have the most experience of anybody in St. Louis running an office like that, or bring Jennifer Joyce back. I mean, I don't know who else is out there with more experience at doing it than that. So I think whoever comes in would be very smart to make one of their first meetings. I bet you Evan Rodriguez talks to Wesley Bell. He's a smart guy. Evan's not out to prove some point. You can't bash wokeness and then want your people to be woke. But anyway, I do think there's a very logical reason that folks have came in and want to help. And I think there's a lot of folks that do want to help. And I do believe it's going to be better. I'm not one of those people that think Kim was malicious. I think Kim got a little bitter because things didn't go well. Good for Hope. She moves forward and enjoys being a nurse. That's very odd too, by the way. I mean, that's just weird, right? Office is kind of going down. You're in nursing school, but again, to me, when they resign, you let them go, let them move on. I think that's a smart thing for everybody in St. Louis to do, whether they do it or not. Up to them. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk. We have so many things to talk about. Again, the session. I'll tell you this: I got a lot done. I think people were fooled by the 5 months. I think they had to push off some of these things that was not going to pass. It was not the support in the body for it. Had to push it off till later. And then finally, when the people who was getting their things pushed off saw later was really not going to come, they blew it up. They could have done it in February. They waited until May. I think that created a false sense of expectations. And then when the chickens came home to roost, the same people in the same situation you've had for the last 4 years came to bear. It's just they were willing to give Cindy O'Loughlin 4 months of credit, 4 months of grace, and then that ended. So we'll talk more about it. Oh, Sunday on the show, Mike Keogh, fresh off his campaign kickoff, going to ask him about the governor's race, and Dean Plocker. Going to ask him about session, and I think Dean Plocker walks out a lot to be proud of, and it comes in the next session with a pretty strong hand in his caucus, and it's going to be an interesting time. Thank you for joining us. We will see you Sunday.